Good afternoon and welcome to Getting Started with Mendeley. I'm Chris Stacy-Bates and I am one of the Science and Technology librarians here in Parks Library, as is my colleague Mike Bob, who will be presenting part of this session as well. So before the workshop, we did send out some information about installing Mendeley desktop and the two other main components, which are the web importer that gives you a Mendeley button up in the upper right corner of your browser, and also the Mendeley Cytomatic plugin in Microsoft Word. So these are also pre-installed on the lab computers, and we'll work with you with any issues you've got with having it work with your laptop. So in general, Mendeley is an application to help you manage references and documents that you're using, particularly things that you're using in a literature review and citation management portions of any type of research project. So if it's got a reason why you need to look up articles, other types of documents that other people have produced, and keep them organized and be able to cite them easily as you write things, that's what it focuses on. So in particular, you can work with citations, you can work with PDF files, and it has a structure for saving PDF files as part of the Mendeley system so that you can access them remotely. It lets you easily work with plugging things into Word documents and playing around with the forms of the citations in terms of footnotes, endnotes, and bibliographies. And it also has a function to let you share documents with someone else who is in the same group with you. And they've also got some search and sharing functions that can help you find additional documents as well. You can run Mendeley either through a totally in-your-browser system that we'll call Mendeley Web. So this is more portable from computer to computer, but it doesn't have quite as many features and ease of use as the standalone interface for the application, otherwise known as Mendeley Desktop. So the handout that you've got gives you some tips on how to use both versions for the places where you're putting things into Mendeley, but we'll focus a little bit more on Mendeley Desktop just because we found that it makes for a really stretched out workshop to demonstrate everything twice, because there's not that much difference, and the places where there is a difference, you can just kind of work it out on your own. Mendeley is also available through mobile apps for other types of devices. So if you do a lot of reading of papers on a phone or tablet, you can get it to work with those as well. So the main difference between the web and desktop versions, the web version is accessible away from your own computer, and the desktop gives you some more tools, but you can tie them together with the sync button, synchronization button located in Mendeley Desktop will align your whole library of references between the two versions. So with Mendeley Desktop, you can add files in a number of different ways. So you can add, for example, you can add files or folders of documents that are already on your computer. So if you choose Add Files, it brings up a way to browse the files on your PC, and you can see, okay, well, this is what I've got in terms of files on my desktop, for example, that I might be interested in. So here's some PDF file someone saved for whatever purpose, and I just added it, and it imported it along with some summary details about this item, as well as a table of contents in this case, and notes. And since it's got a PDF icon, I can also access the full PDF of this one right from within Mendeley Desktop as well. You can also use the option to add a folder, which, again, if you pick a folder on the computer, in that case, it imports all the PDF files that were held within that folder. So I had 3 files, imported them all, and in this case, it was able to detect that it had already imported the Hattie article, Calibration and Confidence. So it didn't double that up, but did just import it once. Incidentally, this add folder command is one of the things that I will point out that's a difference between Mendeley Desktop and Mendeley Web. For some reason, the Mendeley folks have decided that when you're in the desktop version, add folder means go to a folder on your computer, add every PDF file in that folder. In the web version, if you select the add folder command, it's saying create a new folder within the structure of my Mendeley files, which you can still do through Mendeley Desktop, but that's going to appear as under the folders commands. So creating a folder rather than using the new folder command. You can also add entries manually. Oh, watch folder. If you know there's a folder on your computer that you are constantly saving files to and you'd like them to be automatically updated within Mendeley, that's what the watch folder command will do for you. You can also add an entry manually. So you, if you don't have an electronic version or all you've got is an electronic version of the summary information, you can do some copying and pasting over. You can select what your item type is, and you'll get different fields to fill out based on the likely type of fields that you'd see showing up in a citation for that item. I'm going to take it back to journal article. And one of the things that's handy here is that a lot of times if you're working from a paper when you don't have a full if you don't have a full PDF of it, you might still have one of these kind of standardized IDs. So if you're in one of the fields that uses the archive article repository, you might know the archive ID. DOI is probably the most common, and PMID stands for PubMed for the Medline using folks. So I got a DOI ready before to just paste in, but obviously you can type this in. And then when you've got something in one of these search boxes, just use the little lookup, and then it's found the rest of the information about that paper. So, and the database that it's checking here is just comparing this to all the other papers that anyone has saved into their own Mendeley systems and uplinked to the web version of their account. So sometimes you'll have a DOI, but it won't have a match. It's because you've picked something a little more esoteric, and nobody else has linked to it in a way that, at least in a way that uses the DOI. So it's not in their database of articles to be found. So, okay, this is great. I like it. I'm going to go ahead and save it. Notice that this one did not pull in a PDF file along with that. So if I also wanted to have the PDF file, I would need to see if I can maybe go to the URL and pull it in from there. And in this case, it's bringing me to a browser that's not the browser I want to be using. I'll actually exit out of that and get back into Chrome. Let's see, but before I get too far into that. Okay, so you can add things manually and so forth through the add files. You can also then drag things around within the folder structure that you've established, which I won't actually do because this is Mike's account and I don't want to mess it up for him, unless you've got something that's simply called like test or any folders here that you don't mind me dragging things into.
Oh, okay, I have several. You can use the one that says A.
A.
Or Z.
Z, okay, Z sounds good.
A-P-H question mark.
Okay, so so from the all documents, I can just do a drag, come on, drag and drop. There we go, into the folder Z. It stays obviously in all documents because that's just listing everything that's in the system. But then I've also got a copy of that record within the Z folder as well. So I could repeat copies of this of the information about this article in multiple folders if it was a resource that I wanted to use in multiple products or papers later on. Or I could just leave it in all documents and not pull it out anywhere special or and so forth. You know, just kind of your regular, yes?
So if I were to take that document, put it in another folder, and make some marks on it, add in some comments, things like that, highlight, and then I go back to the original, would it like auto-populate those comments, or do I have to go back through and find that one that I commented on?
I am pretty certain that it will, okay, so we're looking at the version that's within Z. I'm pretty certain that it really just saves one version of it for you and keeps it in all the folders. So I'm going to add the note in here. And then go back up, look in all documents. And yeah, so it really is just working with a single copy. So then you can also think you can remove it from a single folder, but without removing it from all documents. It's still going to be somewhere in your Mendeley system. Great question. Okay. And you've also got options to do various things to move things around, rename your folders. You can go in when this has been updated. Like, okay, so in this case, it does give me the full names for the authors, but if it had only grabbed the information of them with their initials, and I wanted the full names that I had from another source because my style guide might call on that, I could edit those in. I can delete these, as I mentioned. And then the sync button is going to make sure that my online structure over in Mendeley Web, the portable version of Mendeley, is going to also show the notes and the citations I've pulled in and the full PDF files that I've pulled in. Yes? Okay.
So sometimes I put my file into the separate folder. So if there's a few files there, it's not hard to find which folders I use to put those files. It's the same files. But is there any functions I can see that files where
Which folders? Let's see. Okay, so it looks like it's pulling it up more at the document level than at the here's all the folders it's in level when I do the search.
document has
So one thing. Mike, do you, or Jeff, do you know the answer to this question of can we bring up the information about the document and see all of the folders that it's in?
I'm trying to do that. I don't see if there's a way. That would be cool if you could. So you're asking if you're looking in all documents as one file, you want to see what folders you have it in.
Yeah, so sometimes I just put several folders. So, but then also, if I just add one file, even if it is the same file, they just add another one, not the same one
Right. You usually have an option if you're adding a second copy.
Yeah.
You usually have the option of merging them into one
Yeah,
or
yeah.
having two separate. They usually ask you right away.
I had that problem too, where it doesn't ask, it doesn't give you a prompt or anything.
Yes.
And there is a function in here in desktop where you can merge duplicates or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember where it is though. I think it might be in tools.
You can save a document in multiple folders, and it still saves it
Yeah,
in
check
your
the
library.
folders.
Anything that's in the library, it stays there forever, but you can throw that same document in every folder you have.
Sometimes I have to go back and
Yeah, the only way you can see what's in the folders, though, I think, if you click on each and every one of them, you can't, like, as far as I know, you can't open them all up, so you can see everything that's in there. That was, yeah, so
Okay, so even if you're not working within the web version of Mendeley, you can use Mendeley along with a web search if you've got the web importer button installed for your favorite browser. So there's the little import to Mendeley button. And so I'm just going to play around with so a couple of the PDF files that I'd already saved, I'd saved by doing a search on lemur and behavior. And I'm just going to play around within Scopus, change my sorting list. Oh, I think I've waited too long since I last did it. Okay, so trying again, search. Sort so that I have my most highly cited articles coming up first, and then working with some of those to get them into Mendeley. So I've got several options for going from a database where I've searched for articles and putting that information into Mendeley. So one option is that if I've selected some items, some databases are set up to let you export into Mendeley. So, and Scopus is from the same publisher that produces Mendeley, so they were offering that as an option just right up front. Let's export this right to Mendeley. And then they want all my credentials to do that, apparently. So you can use the same, you can sync your other Elsevier things with your Mendeley login as one way of doing that. And another way to do that kind of ignores what you might have checked on the screen is to just go to the Import to Mendeley button. And what happens here is it's working to detect, oh, come on. Working to detect the individual options, which I think is here. It's not very happy with it. Let's go into one of these. Let's see if we have, in this case, better luck at the individual paper level. Okay, so here it's giving me, it's detecting the information about this particular article It's giving me the option to choose which folder within my Mendeley structure I want it saved to. So I'm going to save it to the A folder. And then checking over in Mendeley desktop, a bit of syncing. And there it is. And it's noting that I might want to review some of the data that I imported, and I might want to also try to, I see that it did not import the PDF along with it, so I can also work to set that up also. So saved Mendeley bookmarks. Try to export it. So let's see. I'm going to take a quick look at a different database. The science database, and I'm going to do lemur behavior again in that one, just to get another example of the various ways the plugin might detect having multiple articles on a page. It's remembering which file I saved things in before, and here it is detecting that there are multiple articles that are showing up in the search results here. So I can choose to import information about all of them from this page at once. Then again, it might, so back in Mendeley desktop, it might take some synchronizing. And it's pulled in some additional information about these articles, but here I can see that it's definitely incomplete. Looks like I'm sometimes getting sources for authors that maybe are not what I would categories actually as authors. The dates didn't always save, page numbers definitely didn't save. So I might get better results with this database if I went into a single paper at a time. And here I see that I'm getting the author information in a better formation. So doing this twice actually gives me a lovely example then, once this is reconnected. I've got some information about this in here twice, so under the tools I can check for duplicates. And what saved the first time is messed up so far it didn't even detect it as a duplicate when I saved it again. So I picked a messy example. That is one thing about any of these citation management products and harvesting citations from the web, is that sometimes not every site and Mendeley are not always optimized to work together. So there are times when you'll want to do some additional editing. So we've got some suggested items on the second page of the handout under It's Your Turn. So I'm sure you've been playing with this already, but kind of continue on for maybe 10 minutes here, and then Mike will demonstrate the really fabulous feature of Mendeley, how beautifully it works for adding your citations into a document you're writing and changing the different citation styles.